Have you ever looked at a single glass sitting on a kitchen counter and felt a sudden wave of intense anxiety wash over your entire body? Scientific research reveals that living in a cluttered environment causes human cortisol levels to spike by over 20% throughout the entire day. This means that a messy room is not just a visual problem, but a biological trap that keeps your body in a constant state of fight or flight. Why do some people feel absolutely suffocated by a single piece of clothing left on a chair, while others can sleep peacefully in total chaos? What if the secret to a calm mind has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with how your brain maps your physical world? There are individuals among us who truly cannot relax if a single item is out of its designated place. They cannot fully sink into the comfort of their sofa if they see laundry piling up across the room. They simply cannot ignore it. This behavior does not exist because they have a passionate love for cleaning or scrubbing floors. It happens because there is an intense voice deep inside them that absolutely refuses to let it go. For these individuals, disorder is never just a harmless mess. Disorder is loud mental noise. Disorder is psychological tension. It is a screaming alarm that their minds cannot naturally tune out. If you have ever stepped inside a home like this, you might have felt a strange sense of perfection. You look around and realize that absolutely nothing is out of place. It makes you wonder how these people manage to maintain such an immaculate environment day after day. You might ask yourself if they possess an extraordinary amount of discipline. You might wonder if they have an abundance of free time or if they were just born with a special gene. What most people fail to see from the outside is that this has nothing to do with cleanliness. This is entirely about how the human mind functions on a structural level. A person who keeps their house perfectly clean every single day is not operating from the same mental state as someone who only cleans when they can no longer stand the filth. They are operating under a completely different system. It is a system that is much more silent but infinitely more profound. To truly understand why this happens, there is a fundamental truth about human biology that you must see first. Your brain does not separate your internal emotional world from your external physical environment. The space you inhabit is never just a physical location. It is a constant, loud, and non-stop psychological message to your subconscious mind. Every object left out of place, every dirty dish rotting in the sink, and every single task you decide to leave for later is instantly recorded by your brain. Even if you actively try to ignore it, your mind logs it as an open loop. It becomes an unfinished project that demands a resolution. This constant background processing drains your daily energy reserves. Psychologists refer to this exhausting phenomenon as cognitive load. The more clutter you allow to accumulate around you, the more mental resources your brain must burn just to pretend it is not there. In fact, neurological studies have proven that visual clutter directly interferes with your ability to focus your attention. It actively makes you process information slower. It leaves you feeling highly distracted and deeply fatigued by the end of the day. This is precisely why certain people cannot function in a messy room. It is not a silly obsession or a quirky personality trait. It is a state of complete neurological saturation. Now, look at the exact opposite scenario. When everything around you is clean, organized, and resting in its proper place, a massive shift occurs. Your mind suddenly stops fighting its environment and begins to rest. It is liberated from the burden of the unfinished, allowing you to breathe deeply again. People who maintain clean homes do not just enjoy a prettier living space. They possess a mind that is sharper, calmer, and infinitely more focused on what truly matters. But here is the most critical piece of the puzzle. They are not cleaning because they find joy in the act of wiping down surfaces. They are fighting to preserve something far more valuable to human survival, which is the psychological sensation of control. There is an uncomfortable truth about human existence that almost nobody wants to admit. The vast majority of your life is completely outside of your personal control. You cannot control the unpredictable events that happen in the world. You cannot control the actions, words, or moods of the people around you. You cannot control the sudden changes at your job or what tomorrow will bring. But your immediate physical space is a different story because that space belongs entirely to you. Every single time you organize a shelf, every time you wipe a table, And every time you take a small action to put things back where they belong, you send a powerful signal to your brain. That signal tells your mind that everything is under control. It declares that you are the absolute master of this domain. This simple realization reduces human anxiety far more than most people realize. In behavioral psychology, this concept is known as an internal locus of control. People who believe they have the power to influence their immediate life suffer from significantly less stress. One of the absolute easiest ways to reinforce this life-saving belief is by taking total control of your physical environment. Therefore, cleaning ceases to be a mundane chore and becomes a deep psychological declaration. However, there is an even deeper layer to this behavior that connects directly to human identity. People who live in spotless homes do not do it because they force themselves through brutal willpower every morning. They do it because, at some specific point in their lives, they transformed into that type of person. They became someone who refuses to let tasks accumulate. They became a person who takes immediate action and respects their personal boundaries. Once a behavior becomes a core part of your identity, you no longer have to spend energy thinking about it. It simply happens automatically as a natural extension of who you are. We always act in perfect alignment with who we truly believe we are. If you constantly tell yourself that you are a messy person, your daily behavior will always work to confirm that identity. But if you begin to act like someone who deeply cares for their surroundings, even through tiny actions, your mind shifts its self-image. Slowly and inevitably, you actually become that organized person. It does not happen overnight, but it is an absolute mathematical certainty. Now, take a moment to honestly reflect on your own life. How many times have you felt an inability to truly unwind and relax inside your own home? How often have you felt a strange, invisible tension lingering in the air? You might not have known why you felt so uneasy, but if you look around your room, the answer is often staring right back at you. Your emotional distress is frequently caused by the chaotic space you return to at the end of the day. Clutter is never a neutral presence in a room because it actively attacks your peace. Science has shown that people living in chaotic homes exhibit elevated cortisol levels all day long. This results in chronic stress, physical fatigue, and a feeling of being completely overwhelmed by life. Sometimes, a messy room is not the original cause of the problem, but a perfect reflection of it. When a person is suffering deeply on the inside, their physical environment is almost always the very first thing to fall apart. Unwashed dishes stack up, clothes pile high on the floor, and the bed remains unmade for days. External chaos perfectly mirrors internal emotional chaos. But thankfully, this powerful psychological mirror works in the exact opposite direction too. Creating order on the outside can actively begin to create order on the inside. This is why so many people engage in a specific behavior without even understanding why they do it. When they feel emotionally overwhelmed, they suddenly start to clean, organize, and completely rearrange their space. They do not do this because they suddenly care about interior design. They do it because they desperately need to quiet a storm that is raging inside their soul. This coping mechanism makes perfect logical sense because cleaning is a tangible physical action. It has a clear beginning, a visible development, and a definitive, satisfying ending. This structure gives your brain something it desperately craves during a crisis, which is a sense of closure. It is a healthy way to release built-up somatic tension and channel energy you cannot control into something constructive. Because of this, the people who clean every day are not using a superpower of discipline that you lack. They are using a much more efficient mental tool, which is total automation. They do not spend time thinking about whether they should clean. They do not negotiate with themselves or wait until they feel motivated to start. They simply perform the action automatically, just like brushing their teeth before bed. This shift changes absolutely everything because human discipline is a finite resource that runs out, but habits last forever. In fact, behavioral scientists estimate that it takes about 60 days of consistent repetition for a behavior to become fully automatic. Once you cross that 60-day threshold, the action stops costing you mental energy. And that is the ultimate goal of this entire psychological journey. It is never about forcing yourself to endure a miserable struggle for the rest of your life. It is about holding the line just long enough so that you no longer have to force yourself at all. There is also something beautiful about this process that can be felt deeply, but is rarely explained in words. It is the raw, physical sensation of an organized space. Walking into a clean, open room is not merely a visual pleasure. It is a profound somatic experience that alters your physiology. Your body immediately relaxes, and your nervous system interprets the order as a sign of absolute safety and peace. For many individuals, this environment is not an expensive luxury or an aesthetic choice. It is a strict psychological necessity for survival, especially if they are highly sensitive to external stimuli. For these sensitive souls, a messy environment is not just mildly uncomfortable. It is a draining parasite that saps their life force. They maintain their clean space not for outward appearance, but to preserve their internal equilibrium. If you have watched this far and feel a deep connection to these words, do not try to change your entire life overnight. Start with a much simpler and more compassionate approach. Pick one small, single area of your home, just one countertop or one desk. Commit to keeping that one specific space clean for a period of 7 days. Focus only on that small area, without trying to make it absolutely flawless and without demanding perfection from yourself. Just keep it tidy and carefully observe what happens to your state of mind. Pay close attention to how you feel when you step into that clean zone and how it alters your mood, because this journey is never truly about having a picture-perfect house. It is about something infinitely more profound and beautiful. It is about who you choose to be when absolutely nobody else is watching you. It is about the level of respect and love you show yourself in the most ordinary moments of your daily life. At the end of the day, these people are not just cleaning a physical structure made of wood and brick. They are doing their best to maintain order in an internal world that is often chaotic and unpredictable. Perhaps that is why, when everything is finally in its proper place, the magic happens. When there are no more open loops demanding your attention, and the visual noise completely vanishes, a transformation occurs. It is not just the physical house that finally gets to rest. It is your beautiful, exhausted mind that can finally find peace. It feels as though, for one fleeting moment, everything in the universe is under control. And that peace does not happen because the outside world stopped turning. It happens because you finally feel that control deep inside your own heart. That tiny shift, as small as it may seem, changes absolutely everything about how you experience your life. If something in this story made you see your own reflection, I would be deeply honored to read your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden psychology of the things that usually go unnoticed, please consider subscribing to the channels. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the very next story.